Welcome to Millan Foundation Conversations, where we talk all things community, philanthropy, and connect people together. We hope you enjoy our show.
Welcome to Millan Foundation Conversations. I'm Madeline Etherton, and I'm going to be your host today. I have the honor of serving as one of our foundation ambassadors, and today I'm here with Suzanne Adkison from Blood Assurance and Sally Ely from United Community Bank. How are you guys doing?
We're doing just great.
Awesome. And yourself?
I'm good. All right. So today's episode, we are just going to be getting down to the heart of what the Millan Foundation is really about, which is giving back. We have the awesome opportunity to host a blood drive in partnership with United Community Bank and Blood Assurance on October 3rd in the Jude Room. And today we're just going to be talking about the impact that this event has for the community and just for locals around us. So I would love to hear a little bit more about each of you and what you do. So Sally, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Sally Ely with United Community Bank. I am a relationship manager for United Community. Had the honor of being with the team for 5 months now and just super excited to partner up and do this blood drive.
Awesome.
My name is Suzanne Adkison, and I work for Blood Assurance. Blood Assurance is a community blood bank, a nonprofit, and a regional blood bank as well. And I am an account manager, and my job is to engage community members and organizations, churches and schools to run blood drive programs and support our community hospitals with the blood that we collect.
That's awesome. So Sally, I know that it was such God timing that you guys came to us looking for a partnership with Blood Assurance. You guys had kind of talked about it. We had actually been in the works with Blood Assurance to get something going. So can you just tell me a little bit more about kind of how this discussion came about, just what made United Community want to partner?
Sure. So United Community is the bank that Service built. And so we like to come together for good and to make our community better and the lives in our community better. So Suzanne actually was at a YMCA board meeting and was talking about blood assurance. And I got to thinking, United Community does good days, and this would be an awesome opportunity to do a good day and to give back to the community.
Awesome. And yes, that's how we met at a board meeting. I was invited to do a presentation. Since I've started doing this job in January, I really have hit the ground running, connecting different parts of the community and reaching out to all of these different organizations to share the need and to encourage and inspire people to build these programs. And so I had been in touch with United Community Bank because they had done some things in the past before I was employed by Blood Assurance. And I had reached out to Millan after attending the nonprofit roundtable that you guys hosted, which was really awesome. And I connected with Michaela Ramos there.
Yeah, awesome.
And, at the time, I didn't know much about the foundation, but I wanted to connect with her and just open the door to possibilities. So I had reached out to her also. So it was kind of two things working, and then they came together when I learned that Sally worked for United Community Bank and that Millan owned the property where United Community Bank was located. So that's kind of how the trifecta just joined forces, and that was the birth of this collaboration.
That's so awesome. So Sally, I want to really drive in the community aspect of the bank. So you mentioned that you guys have done blood drives before. That's awesome. So what does that look like? What does that part of the company just mean in the sense of driving that home with bringing in these community-centered events to the local Clarksville area?
Yeah, so we at United Community, we are very community obviously based and want to give back. And so at United Community, we offer our employees hours to go out within the community and volunteer their time, whether it be donating blood at Blood Assurance on the bus, or whether that's doing financial literacy with the local school systems, or partnering with the foundation and doing community outreach.
That's awesome. So a little bit about Blood Assurance. I know that you guys are sole provider at Tenova, very prevalent here in Montgomery County. Can you tell us a little bit more about blood assurance, what you guys do, the mission of it, just for some people who might not be familiar with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So blood assurance was started in the 70s, I think in 72 in Chattanooga. And so we've had a long track record there. And in the Chattanooga area, we are very well known. Less so out of, the Nashville area, but we did begin operations in Nashville 5 or 6 years ago, so a much shorter term. And with that, we started operations here in Montgomery County. So we aren't as well known in this area. And in fact, I recall when I moved here, getting a flyer from Blood Assurance and thinking, well, what is Blood Assurance? I have learned since then more about our organization. We were born from the need to have blood to support the local community hospitals. And so that is our mission, to provide a safe and adequate blood supply to our community hospitals. And our motto is give local, save local. So every bit of blood that we collect within our footprint, and our footprint is kind of just all of Middle Tennessee, from Chattanooga up to Bowling Green. We're kind of on the western frontier here. We do go over to Stewart County and then down to Columbia and even just a little bit of North Georgia, Alabama, and one county in western North Carolina. So it's a big area, but really if you just drew a big circle around Middle Tennessee, that is most of the area that we are collecting and supporting the hospitals. We are the sole provider of blood and blood products to Tenova, and that is our community hospital. And more than that, though, in a more regional base, because a lot of people from our community go to Nashville for emergencies or for specialty care, we are the primary blood provider at many of the Nashville hospitals, and that includes Vanderbilt, Centennial Hospital. It includes TriStar, Skyline, and the Trauma Center. And then on top of all of that, we are the sole provider for the emergency helicopter services that very sadly are very often ferrying people down to Nashville for emergencies, for accidents, and for very important emergency situations. So if somebody needs blood on a helicopter before they can even get to the hospital, that blood is coming from Blood Assurance. And so we need the community to come forth and donate and make sure that that blood supply is safe and adequate. You make sure it's adequate. We make sure it's safe. We have a very state-of-the-art lab in Chattanooga where everything is very thoroughly tested. And then it is redistributed to the area, to the hospitals in the area from which it came. So that's kind of the everything in a nutshell. But that's how we support local, is that when you donate with us, you know that the blood you are giving is going to support your neighbor or your church member or your own family who might need a major surgery, or a woman who's having a difficult time in labor, or a baby that is premature. There's so many people that need blood and blood products, and we want to make sure that we have them when they need them. They have to be there and ready to go.
That's awesome. So we have 2 new hospitals coming to Clarksville, which is incredible. Like, that for the growth alone is awesome. So what does that look like for you guys in the local community? That's a lot of growth and new additions.
It is, and Clarksville has grown at an incredible rate just in the 5 years since I've moved here. We are one of the fastest growing areas. We are the 5th largest city in Tennessee, and we're getting ready to become the 4th largest city. So with that growth, yes, we have more people, we have more need for blood, but also a greater capacity to engage people to donate blood. The new hospitals, I know that we're in talks to be the provider for those hospitals. Awesome. I can tell you that we are the primary provider for all TriStar locations. And we do work with St. Thomas as well. We provide some of their locations. And so in all likelihood, we will supply those 2 new hospitals. And that means that we need more people to come out and donate. I think everyone knows there's a need for blood in the community, and everybody would like to help and donate. People don't often realize that they can donate up to 6 times a year. And maybe you're not the 6th time a year donor, but maybe you could set a goal to do it 2 to 3 or even 4 times a year. I like to always have a temporal cue so I don't forget. And my temporal cue is when the season changes. We all know when the season changes, we don't have to have a calendar reminder. And if you set a goal for yourself to make an appointment and donate each time the season turns over, then you're coming out 4 times a year, and you are absolutely a superhero. If more people could do that, then we wouldn't have to suffer blood shortages where we have to really ask people to come and donate. So I'm here to just encourage you to think about what you've done in the past as a donor and ask yourself, can I do better? If I've done it just once a year, can I do it 2 times a year, 3 times a year? What's going to work for you? We have a center on Wilma Rudolph. You can walk in or you can make an appointment. So that's always available. And my job is to set up mobile blood drives. So I do this, like I said, with churches, with community groups. I just left West Creek High School. They're going to be doing blood drives with us, with the high school students.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool. It's such an opportunity to engage them, to educate them, and then also to give them an opportunity to develop their leadership skills by running the blood drive and recruiting donors and learning how to talk to people. And it's such a pleasure to work with high schools and high school students. And it's been a major joy in my job to go back into the schools. There's such good energy there, and I've really, really enjoyed it. So that's kind of that's our mission, and that's who we serve. And so there aren't many hospitals in the area where you might not receive blood assurance blood.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very bold goal for our drive. We have a goal of 100 donors.
Yeah.
Yes, but we know that we can do it.
Yes.
So for people who might not have donated before, can you walk me through what a typical appointment looks like? I know that when we originally met, you told me that you guys were actually upping your capabilities of what you can collect to include
That's
like
right.
platelets and everything like that. So can you hit on that just a little bit?
Yeah, I sure can. So if you haven't donated in a while, I'll tell you what the process is. First thing you would do is to sign up for an appointment. And then you can opt to receive a text reminder if you would like to. Most people do because we're all very busy and we forget. And it's really great to get that text reminder the day before. So you say, oh, yes, I'm donating blood tomorrow. When you report for your appointment, you have an option. In your text reminder, we include a link that links to our health questionnaire. And you can also just go to bloodassurance.org and find the quick screen. So the quick screen is an FDA required document that each donor needs to fill out on the day of their donation. You can't work ahead. If you want to, you'll have to do it the day of your donation. But you can do it in that morning and report for, an appointment later in that afternoon. That questionnaire is going to go through a whole lot of different questions. It takes, at least 10 minutes. It's not just a 1, 2, 3. It does take a little bit of time. We have our medication deferral list there, so you can review any medications that you're on and see if you're on something that might defer you from being able to give that day. After that, you would report to your appointment. You have to bring your ID, so that's important, and you would check in with our registrar. And then you would go and sit with one of our techs. We have some stations set up that with partitions where you would sit with the tech, and the tech would review your questionnaire, and they might ask you further questions about anything. For example, one of the questions is, have you been outside the country in the last 3 years? So many of us have traveled. So if you said yes, then they would ask you where, and they would cross-reference that against places that might have some kind of endemic disease like malaria, and if you were there recently, there might be a waiting time before you could donate. So they go through all of that, and they're going to also do a quick mini physical. They're going to check your pulse, and they're going to check your blood pressure and your hemoglobin. And those are things many times people's hemoglobin might be low. We do have a threshold. If your hemoglobin is below that threshold, then you will not be able to donate that day. If your blood pressure is too high, you may not be able to donate that day. So we have to check that and make sure that everything looks good so that it's safe for you to donate. After that, you would go To the donation chair. Now, the options for collection are whole blood, double red cells, plasma, or platelets. We're going to be offering all of those options. A whole blood donation is very short and straightforward. Many people have done it. It doesn't take long at all. We say overall 30 to 40 minutes, kind of depending if you have your health screen done ahead of time. Short and sweet. The actual donation part might just take 5 minutes up to about 10 minutes. If you are doing double red cells, and that's where we remove whole blood and we put it in a machine, an apheresis machine, where they separate out the red cells from the plasma and platelets. They return the plasma and platelets to you and keep twice the amount of red cells. Now, why is that important? Well, all the whole blood needs to be separated into its 3 components: red cells, plasma, and platelets. So when we are able to collect a double unit of red cells, just red cells, those can be tested and go straight into trauma situations. So it's a shorter turnaround time and delivery to the hospital when there are major accidents and traumas. So that's an option. The other option is to do plasma. It's the same process. Where they would return the red cells and the platelets to your body and keep the plasma. And then the last one is a different machine. It's called a TREMA machine, and that one can do all of those things, but more importantly, it can collect platelets. So platelets are the smallest component volume-wise of your blood, but they're critically important in clotting. And most of the platelets, 50 to 60% of the platelets that we collect, go to people fighting cancer. So if you are undergoing some intensive chemotherapy, the chemotherapy is going to destroy your platelets and you're going to need supplementation. And so that's a wonderful thing to do. Some other kind of interesting facts about platelets is they have a very short shelf life. So they only last about 5 days. So not a lot of time, it's a very quick turnaround, and they have to be tested, of course, for safety, and then get straight to the people that need them. And interestingly, you can donate platelets up to once a week. It's something that your body has a very quick turnaround time of too. Yeah. So we have a special program for platelet donors. It's called Heart of Gold, because truly you have a heart of gold when you become a dedicated platelet donor. You can go as much as once a week, but most people might come once a month and do a platelet donation, and it takes a bit longer than a blood donation. So you do have to have a little more time on your hands. It would take over an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes from start to finish. But especially if you've lost someone to cancer, if you've had an experience, it's a wonderful thing to participate in. And we have some very dedicated platelet donors. We don't have enough. We need more. So if anyone's interested in platelets specifically, we're going to be able to do them at the blood drive. Yeah. And we can talk about joining the program. And it's a rewards program that, thanks you with some, maybe a tote bag or a hoodie or something for coming out like up to 4 times a year or more. So when you kind of come in consistently, we register you for the program, and then we thank you for coming in. We thank you for your gift.
That's an awesome opportunity. That's
it really
so cool.
is.
Yeah.
We definitely have some dedicated platelet people. It is so critical, and we need them. And it's a program we're working on to just broaden the impact and broaden the donor base, as we are with all of the programs. They're all important. Plasma, plasma may be the kind of thing, if you know your blood type and you come in and you are AB blood type, in all likelihood, they're going to ask you if you could do plasma, because AB plasma is the universal plasma donor. O negative is the universal red cell donor. So if you are O type blood and you fit the criteria, they will probably ask you to do double reds. And if you are AB, they will probably ask you to do plasma. It's up to you if you'd like to do that, but it's going to be offered because those are products that are so critically needed. I wanted to mention a couple things about shelf life. So platelets, as I said, last about 5 days. Plasma often gets frozen, so that has a much longer shelf life. red cells will last in the 41 to 42 day range. So after testing, maybe about 40 days. They have, a much nicer, longer shelf life than something like platelets, but they expire. And that is why, one of the reasons why we always need blood. We always need it. And that's why it's important to be a donor who comes out several times a year. Because when we put a blood drive on the books and these 100 units that we're looking to get.
And we can do it.
Those are already promised to the hospital.
They're awesome.
Already promised. So it's like they're already gone, right? Mm-hmm. Before we've even collected them. And so the hospital's counting on that. The hospital is counting on us to deliver those 100 units. And that's why it's important for us to set a realistic goal and then to make sure that we do whatever we can to get the engagement and bring that in. That's what, a successful blood drive looks like.
That's amazing. So giving blood is such an awesome opportunity. I would love to hear from both of you on what you would say to somebody who has maybe never donated before. Maybe this is their first time. Like, what does that impact look like for you personally or broadly? I would just love to hear like personal on that, Sally.
So yes, I am an absolute chicken when it comes to needles. And my first experience with blood assurance was blood drive on the bus. And I had a coworker who was like, come on, we're doing this. And I'm like, I am a chicken. And she's like, I got you. So we got on the bus and met with the nurses and the team and they were phenomenal. And I got over my fear, just stuck my arm out, didn't look, but it took 30 minutes and just to know what gift I was giving to someone just meant the world to me. And I'm O positive. So I get these phone calls about every 30 days just to remind me or every 8 weeks, that, hey, it's time. So I like that check with the seasons. I need to check with my seasons as I'm changing my outfits and clothes, wardrobe. I need to be getting that blood assurance versus waiting for that phone call. But it is just so rewarding.
That's awesome.
It is. And I'm so proud of you because, fear is a real thing, it's not rational. And I can't tell you how many people, say, I'm scared of needles, and I understand it. I totally understand it. It's uncomfortable to give blood, I will share a few things that I've learned in my time. I've been a blood donor since I was much younger, but, and I was a donor before I worked for Blood Assurance. And I even donated at Blood Assurance before I worked for Blood Assurance. But, fear can be real. And so when people are scared but have the drive to give, I counsel them to just ask themselves. I say, this is a question that for you to ask yourself. It's not a question for me to ask you. Like, can you do this short-term discomfort, Can you endure that short-term discomfort for the thing that's on the other side? And that is what you said, right? The ability to literally save lives. Blood is medicine. We can't reproduce it in a lab. It has to come from people. And if people aren't willing to donate, that could be catastrophic. So, if it's just simply fear, I like to say to women and younger women and girls, like, you are a woman, you can do this, right? And look, your friend kind of forced your hand a little bit and you were so happy. And that's such a wonderful story. And I'm so glad that you were willing. And now, it's not so bad. It's not. It's a temporary discomfort. Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. One other thing that I'll point out, which is so important, and I have realized how important this is more and more since working in this field, is the preparation. So I mentioned that I have been a donor, and there always, you have your do's and don'ts, what you should do to prepare, what you should not do. And like I think many people, I didn't pay very much attention to those notes. And I've had some bad experiences where they weren't able to get my vein, the bad experience, and in retrospect, I have learned that really it was my fault. because I probably showed up with like 2 cups of coffee and a piece of toast in my stomach.
You sound like me on a Monday through Friday.
Like not realizing the impact of not preparing your body. So when you don't prepare your body, you're going to have a harder time. Your tech is going to have a harder time getting into your vein, and it's going to be harder on you. It's going to be harder on them. And the chances of it not being successful are higher. And it's so disappointing when you are ready, you are there, you've committed, you've set the time aside, and you can't actually do the thing. And since I've learned that, I have prepared properly, and I can share with you that the times that I've donated recently, I just donated the other day, being hydrated with water is so important, because then your veins are hydrated. They're easier to locate. They're bigger. They're plumper. They can take an injury much easier and heal from that injury. That is so important. 2 cups of coffee is a lot of caffeine. Caffeine constricts your vessels. Not a good idea. And then the other thing is about eating something more than a piece of toast or a salad. Your body loses 600 calories when you donate. And so in order to not feel bad, you really want to have a full stomach and be well hydrated. You do not want to be drinking energy drinks before you donate. And it's okay to have a cup of coffee if you're accustomed to having coffee, but also you need to make sure that you are drinking water, because we take 1 pint of blood from your body, and that has an effect on your body. And so we need to respect our bodies and prepare them to lose that blood, and then make sure that we're eating afterwards to replace those calories. When you prepare, the chances of having a reaction or a bad experience are so much lower. So I really encourage people to prepare more than I may have prepared in the past, because it is so important in having a successful collection, in the donor being able to donate and to avoid bad experiences, because we don't want people to have bad experiences, because we want them to come back. Right. And I'll tell you, after I had that bad experience, it took me a little while. Right? You have to just get a little distance from it before you're ready to get back in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know at the Millan Foundation, we operate off of a verse, Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think that this blood drive is a really cool opportunity to kind of take hold of that impact that we're all capable of and that we're called to.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. It just reinforces the message of like, we give for the sake of giving. We give for the sake of others. We give, for the support of the people who live and work and, play and we see every day in our community. That's really nice.
Yeah. Something so small but so big with such a big impact.
Yep.
And that really brings us back to October 3rd.
Yay. October 3rd.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Give back, give blood. So we're going to have 100 donor spots. We're going to be taking donations from 1 to 7 p.m. So plenty of time during work, after work. So you can keep an eye out on our social medias for more information. Whether you've donated a dozen times or this is your first time, this is a chance for you to be a part of something meaningful, to have a greater impact on this community. So thank you again, Suzanne and Sally, for being here with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're so excited about this event. It's going to be so good. Don't forget to give back and give blood. And in the meantime, thank you for helping us lift visions and craft change.
Visit our website to stay up to date with everything going on at MillonFamilyFoundation.org. Thank you for listening to Millan Foundation Conversations. And until next time, do the next kind thing.